UNT.
All right, we are ready. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. We've got Jim Nardoni, the former police chief in Trenton, and we've got Vanessa Moss, an attorney here in Detroit. Well, let's get right to it.
Listen,
Vanessa.
I'm not just an attorney in Detroit. I am every woman. I'm an attorney. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a G. I'm a fashionista. I am a uh, worker in the community. I'm everything. You heard that song by Shaka Khan, right? I'm every woman.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yes, I'm trying to
every
get closer
woman. It's
to Queen
all in
Bee,
me.
but I think I look better at a distance, Queen Bee. I have a face for radio, as I like to always say.
So, good evening, everybody. Karen Winston, that's my girl. Queen Bee, what's going on? And everybody else that's going to join us in Detroit Black and White, we want you to hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. We also want you to subscribe. We want you to share Detroit Black and White. You can catch us on all social media platforms. I want to say good evening to our Facebookers as well. I want to say good evening to my son, Miles, who is helping me.
I see that handsome young man and just a little bit of him back there.
I'm supposed to say hello. Say hello.
That's a better shot. Thank you, Miles.
And listen, hey Jill, if you like it and subscribe, we want you to share. Listen, as Alan always teases me because I always say, listen. I was taking care of some business today over in court. And there was a gentleman, it was a clerk, and hi, and I don't know if I know him from just walking in and out of courtroom. So guess what he said? He knows me from Detroit in Black and White. I said, "Oh, you watched the show?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, do you like, subscribe, and share?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Why don't you make a comment?" He said, "I'm just very quiet." He said, "But I do hit the like button." So I told him to make sure that he tell everybody about the greatest show on this side of the United States, Detroit in Black and White.
And thanks for watching. We love it. It's their show, right? More than our show.
Lemonade.
All right. Well, let's get to it.
Can I start today?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Something I want to talk about. It's kind of probably should have stayed off the internet, but I couldn't help myself. I spent too much time online, but there was an article that went out in Deadline Detroit a few days ago, written by our own Adolph Mongo. I was reading some of the comments. I thought some of them were interesting. What I thought when I first read it was, why are you attacking the messenger when he's telling the truth? He's the guy that's going back and looking. He's doing the research, and he talked about a few things that happened with Mary Sheffield. I'm not going to say whether Mary Sheffield is the best for mayor of Detroit or she's not the best for mayor. That's not my decision. That's the voters' decision. But I want to cover a couple of these comments, if I may.
Okay.
One of the comments was, he's doing it for the money. And I know we did a show last night, but I didn't see a Lamborghini out in front. So I don't think that's a question you have to ask him. I don't know. Maybe that's between he and Alan. Maybe Alan gave him a $50,000 check for writing that. I'm not sure. But I don't think he's doing it for the money.
He didn't get paid to do it. That's the reality. He did not get paid to do that.
They said some of his points were mean-spirited, and not one of the people that attacked our host Adolph Mongo or Deadline Detroit denied any of the accusations, any of the questions that were made. Not one person said that's inaccurate. They just said they didn't like it. So one of the people, I'm a little nosy myself. I went to his Facebook page, and he had describing in great detail sex between two men, and he's a Trumpster. So, I mean, this is a guy attacking our Adolph Mongo. I don't get it. If you're a Trumpster and you want to believe that, you believe whatever you want to believe. But describing sex between two men, he wasn't suggesting that those two men were forever partners and they cared about each other. He was describing a sex act, which was kind of low down. That says more about the comment than our Adolph Mongo. And lastly, the most sickening one of all was that white man hating Mongo. Now, let me tell you. And that's Urkel.
That's his handle?
No, that's what was a comment.
Oh.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm just going to tell you something. Urkel is I'm going to call him Urkel.
Okay.
From the TV show.
Okay.
And Urkel, I'm not attacking you, Urkel, but you're a digital creator. I don't know what that means. I think that's kind of like when we were young, our parents said, well, they're just trying to get their footing. That's why they don't have gainful employment. But there are some talented digital creators out there, but it sure looks like when I was on Facebook looking around, there's a hell of a lot of digital creators out there, and I never heard of a damn one of them. So this is a reflection of you. When you make comments like that, Adolph was telling facts, and the commenters, which are entitled, I love their comments. I love the comments on this show. But be honest. Tell the truth. Adolph wrote a story that was the truth.
Get him, Jim.
Did you hear what you hear the background?
I did.
Well, listen. Well, I should say listen, but I can't help it. Listen, first of all, he didn't get paid. He said it last week. And if he was on tonight, he would be throwing all kinds of F-bombs. But the point of the matter is, like you said, Jim, he was telling the truth from his perspective. And I think he made it clear, this is my opinion. This is my opinion, and this is how I see it. Now, if you put yourself out there, whoever it is, it could be Vanessa Moss, it could be Jim Nardoni, it could be Alan Langle. We put ourselves out there. When you put yourself out there, you're going to be subjected to ridicule, questioning, everything else. And so for anybody to have a problem with it, if for anybody to have a problem with it, I just don't get it. Now, if you disagree with his opinion, that's fine, but it's his opinion. No one has the right to tell him that his opinion is wrong or he should think another way. Just as they don't have the right to tell you or Alan that. It's my opinion. So that is ridiculous. I didn't even see the comments. I read the article and I left it there, and I hope we get a chance to talk about this upcoming race, because I got some things that I want to get off my chest.
And I want Alan to comment, but I'm just going to say this. He reported facts, and then he used his opinion. Those are two different things.
Right.
You're not beating him up.
It's a column. He wrote a column. Yeah.
Correct. But my point is, you're beating him up over the facts. You're not beating him up over his opinion. You're beating him up over the facts. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're the journalist. Tell me where I'm wrong here.
Alan, were the facts? I'm going to ask you, Jim. Were the facts was the number of times that Councilwoman Sheffield missed meetings? Was it a fact that she is on the board of the Detroit Conservancy? Is it a fact that he said that Matt Cullen should not step down from the Riverfront Conservancy? What do you have a problem with? Because I'm like you, Jim. If he laid out the facts, which he did, what was your problem? His opinion?
Correct.
Well,
she's not ready for primary.
Look, every candidate has their flaws.
Yep.
I mean, as you write a column, you pick and choose who you want to go after. And at this point, I mean, a lot of people are going after Mary Sheffield. She's the front runner. There was just a poll out, the latest poll by the Glenn Gariff group, who did a poll for WDIV and the Detroit News. The poll is actually, the numbers are different, but they're reflective of the poll that was done by Ed Sarpolis early last month. The numbers, like I say, are a little different, but Mary Sheffield was far ahead in the polls, and then Kinloch was second, James Craig was third, and then you had lower down, you had Sontiel and you had Todd Perkins, and then way down was Jonathan Barlow, and I think Jonathan Barlow didn't even get anything in there, and then Fred Durhal. And so that was fairly reflective. There's another poll that came out today about the city council at large races.
Mhm.
And again, we see Mary Waters and Coleman Young, the second, are both way up there. Then we have in third place is Ayers, former council member Ayers.
Mhm.
And then we have James Harris from the fire department, who we've had on the show. He comes in fourth. It's the top four people who go in the finals, and then the top two who win. But as far as, I think Adolf called me up and he said, I want to do a column on Mary Sheffield. And, look, I mean, you've got to show up, and, you've got to show up for meetings. You can't just show up for ribbon cuttings. And, whether that makes a difference ultimately in the vote, it may not. People go by names a lot more than they go by issues, generally speaking.
So, Alan and Jim, this is what I'm going to say to that. When you say that you have to show up to ribbon cuttings, no. If you're on a commission or you're on a committee, you're supposed to show up to the meetings. If you take if you have the privilege and the honor to be a board director, whether it's ceremonial or not, if you're asking people to trust you, if you're telling people, listen, I want to be the head chief of the city of Detroit, listen, you're supposed to make those meetings. You're supposed to stand up and stand out. Why is it okay for us to accept? Why is it normal to accept people not doing their freaking job? Why is it normal to allow these people to have these kind of excuses? For instance, what is your answer, Councilwoman Sheffield? And I'm not picking on you, but I'm asking you a question. Why didn't you make the meetings? And then we found out when Adolf started talking last week, not only did she was on the charter commission and she didn't make meetings. I don't know what else is coming out, but listen, we have the right to ask you those questions. And more importantly, why is it okay to accept mediocrity? It's not okay. So this is what I want to say about today, is that we have 10 candidates for mayor. And we talked about this before, Alan. We talked about how only 5 people was, as you say, Alan, I like that you liken it to a country club. Only 5 of the candidates were invited to Mackinac Island. Here's the problem, though. It's 10 candidates. Why is it the media, why are these policymakers telling us what to do, who our leaders should be? And we have people telling us what questions we should ask and what standards we should expect for these people who want to be the leaders of the city of Detroit. I have a problem with it. I have a problem with them being so doggone disrespectful to Detroiters, to you, Alan, as a Detroiter, because guess what? You have the right to hear what all 10 of those people have to say, and you have the right to ask them any questions that you want to ask as it relates to the city of Detroit. Why is it okay for 12 years we had a mayor who concentrated on downtown Detroit, and you wonder why the people in the neighborhoods are ticked off? Why is it's 12 years now? Some of these people sat on city council within the last 12 years. Why haven't you done anything about the neighborhoods? Why are we just not talking about neighborhood corridors? And then you have Eric Brown on the show who talks about education all the time. Listen, we don't have that many people that live in the city of Detroit to send their kids to school. But it's okay for us to elect a school board who does not hold the superintendent accountable. Why is that normal? Why is that okay? Those are the questions that we need answers to. And guess what? The answer resides within us as voters.
I'll say this. I think there's no question that more work needs to be done in the neighborhoods. I think we've done, Detroit's done a great job in Midtown and downtown, which, is the core of sort of the glitz of the city. But there has been some stuff I've seen. There has been housing developments in the neighborhood. There needs to be a lot more done. there
I
needs to
want you
be.
to name those neighborhoods, sir.
I can give you a list after the show.
Okay.
I'll have to specifically write them down, but
Well,
I know
I'm
there
not
are.
coming here Friday. I need you to run that list because I need to know those neighborhoods, sir.
Yeah, there are. I think there's some development there. I've heard people say they think things have gotten better under. Look, when I came back here to the city, the lights were off, like on streets like Grand River for miles. You know, darkness in the winter time. I mean, part of that was, you know, whatever the bankruptcy, whatever. But you know, I think there have been some improvements, but there's still, Detroit is huge, as you know. I mean, I was just driving down like Warren the other day. I was heading out to Belle Isle and the Grand Prix, so I took Warren down, you know, for a while. And you go through some of the neighborhood, and it looks like Appalachia. I mean, there's these wooden houses, and they've been abandoned forever. There's still desolate areas there, and I don't know. You know, I know Dave Bing at one time wanted to talk about shrinking the city and consolidating services and stuff, and people got mad and said, "No, we want to grow the city." You know, so I don't know. People. We were on 9:10 a.m. and people got mad when I said, you know, when the Ukraine war broke out, I said, "Look, bring some of the refugees here, let them settle in Detroit." And some
Where
guys
they gonna go to school? Because there's no schools. Where they gonna go to the grocery store if they're in the neighborhood? Where are the grocery stores?
Well,
This is the
people are
point
going to
I'm
build.
trying to make.
Well, if you go to Bengletown, over, you know,
Where's that?
Bengletown is like along like Hamtramck.
That's Hamtramck. We talking about
No,
Detroit.
no, I'm saying it's part of Detroit as well. Bengletown is a good
You
part.
want to take a break?
My niece lived in Bengletown. A lot of Bangladeshis started coming from New York and directly from Bangladesh because they realized it was so much cheaper to live here. They built shops, they've created neighborhoods, they've created restaurants and stuff like that. I think you bring immigrants in who want to make a living and who want to, you know, grow their neighborhoods. We have plenty of room. It's not like we don't have room for it.
Listen, I think what you're saying is, and I get it because you're the person who stands in the middle and say, listen, there's been some work done in the neighborhood. Let me tell you something. On Mondays, I go out and dance on Monday nights, and where I go dance is in 48205 zip code. I wish you would drive over there and tell me something has been done in the neighborhood. But I'm gonna tell you, wait. I'm just saying. Just let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wish you would go over there and tell me that something was done in that neighborhood. But what has been done is, you better believe these people that's running for office, knocking on those doors and putting those signs over there. And all I'm saying is, for 12 years, we had a mayor who's getting ready, who's running for governor as an independent. We don't get a chance to ask him about what's happening in the neighborhoods. But guess what? He has taken this platform and said, hey, we need to talk about building neighborhoods. Now he's talking about he's running for governor. I'm saying that we've had people sitting on city council. Why has it taken 12 years to talk about the neighborhoods? And you know it's not going to happen once we elect a mayor and the city council. It's not going to happen in the next year, the next 2 years, the next 3 years. Why?
I think there's a reason that we have districts. We have, you know, somebody represents the 5th district, somebody represents the 4th district. And what we need to see more of those people taking responsibility for plans to develop their districts. And, you know, as far as the neighborhood, look, Detroit is huge. Detroit is such a big, expansive city. It's like you drive on the west side, the east side, it goes on forever. The north side, it goes on forever. There are definitely neighborhoods that look horrible. There's still blight. I mean, there have been improvements. Look, 7 and Woodward used to look horrible behind, you know, there were homes burned out, just blocks of burned out homes, and they've gotten rid of that. There have been improvements, but
you said 7 and Woodward. You're talking about where that church that they've been building for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, then when you go further east, you're saying that it looks better over there?
Well, I'd say they've knocked down. Well, let me finish. They've knocked down a lot of burned homes over there, and so
Can we take a break?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Can we take a break and then Vanessa can talk to our friends out there, all our viewers? I don't want to ignore them, right? Sorry, Alan.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Oh, we're back at Detroit Black and White. We're going to go through some of the viewers, and we already spoke to Queen B. Queen B has made some comments. And how is it that I'm not able to move? Okay. Jill said hello. Queen B said laugh out loud. Cashmere says, Vanessa, I knew you were every woman. Good evening, Angela Beatty. Queen B, as it relates to your commentary, Jim, Queen B said they were big mad. You don't like my music, said one of the last channels I ain't banned from. Deadline Detroit, massive represent. Of course, Eric is trying to be funny. He says, is that what they're calling Thunderbird nowadays? This really is lemonade. Derek Henry said, good evening. Karen Winston said Sheffield had a staff member speak this evening at Detroit retirees meeting. I hope they asked some good questions. Score B13, good evening, folks. Edward A said, good evening, Detroit. Eric says, it's par for the course, Jim, to attack the messenger. People are not researchers and only stuck on name recognition. You don't like my music, said Jim is a good dude. I hate cops, but not Jim.
Thank you.
Queen
He
B
and I are going to sit down and talk music one day. But go ahead.
Queen V says the comments were crazy. She had to abandon them because those people wanted to argue. You also have Stanley Brooks. If Mary Sheffield loses the mayoral race, will she regain her council seat? I'll let you answer that question, Alan. We have a question. Why is it that Ty Perkins was the only one that knew the doggone budget? We also have Taylor. She said because he was allowed to. I don't know what she was talking about when she says that. She's talking about the mayor. She said, do not vote for him for governor. Edward A says, thank you, Vanessa, because if I don't show up for work and do my job, I get fired. Miss Sheila, good evening. Janet Saluk says, greeting as salutations, Vanessa, right on. Sam said, good evening. G Money Hollywood. Detroit is a mid-sized city and no longer considered a renowned city. It has a population of maybe 650,000. They need someone who can fix the city and not put a Band-Aid on it and bring it back to over a million. Jill says Detroit's population grows, so will the tax base to pay for the schools and services. Good point. Chip Tracy says Whitney was in another community meeting today, listening to voters and sharing his views on new developments on the east side. Okay. Let's see. True Sensation says the citizens must stand together and hold politicians accountable. The constant recycling of the same failed politicians is a huge problem. The citizens has to take their city back. Sam says Detroit is huge. 139 square miles can fit the city of Boston, San Francisco, and the island of Manhattan within it. Improvements have been made. Detroit is vast in area. Deborah Harris, good evening. She said her neighborhood has gone to crap in surrounding areas. Okay.
There you have it.
Yeah. So there was a question I wanted to answer, Alan. I forgot what it was. You or Jim?
Mary Sheffield, because she's running for mayor and her seat is up for grabs. If she loses, then she's done with the council.
Okay.
Yeah, the fifth district, which she's running, we know we've had some of the candidates I know are running for that seat, you can't run for both. Same time. So
Yeah.
so it'll be interesting. I mean, I just from the polls, and the polls have been wrong. We saw it with Donald Trump; they were wrong before, but I think she's going to be one of the two top candidates, and I think it's really, the polls are suggesting what's up for grabs is the second spot, and once it's two people, then you've got a race. It's anybody's.
So you're saying you don't think it's a race right now?
Well, I think I think it showed that Kinloch is up there, Craig is up there, and the other people, and maybe the poll is off, but Sontel Jenkins is kind of down there, and Todd Perkins is down there, and then Fred Durhal is below, at least in this last poll, he's below Todd, and then I think that the polls basically, I don't know if they had anybody, if it's under 1%, I think they don't include them in there, so they could be still having some people who support them. I mean, Fred Durhal he's got some support, but I don't know that it's going to be enough.
Yeah, Jim, what do you think?
I have no idea. I think that she is clearly the front runner. I have no problem with. There was some criticism of the poll. I've talked to a few people that were criticized the poll, and I'm not sure the poll isn't accurate. It appears to be she's going to get a third of the vote automatically, and I think that's where she is. And the other 4, 5, 8, 9, however many people are in the race are chasing her, and I think they have a lot of work to do. And I think that poll indicates that, whether it's 38%, 32%, 28%, she's ahead of everybody else. I believe that's true. And if that's who the voters want, that's who they're going to elect.
Yeah. Now, I listen, I understand that name recognition is very important, and people like to vote for something that they feel, someone that they're familiar with, or something that they're familiar with. But what people really should look at is the fact that whoever it is, we got to start holding these people accountable. If this person, whoever it is not setting a trail to make a city for everybody, if you're just carrying the same water that was carried before, we're going to have a problem. If we as
That's
voters,
a great point, Vanessa.
Yes, if we as voters do not hold these people accountable, how in the heck can you have a school board that's elected by the people who cannot tell the person who works for them, who is being supervised basically by them, and they work for us? How can you continue to have a job? Why is it okay to be less than? When you are the mayor of the city,
because you said mediocrity.
Okay, exactly. Why is it okay that, look, Alan and I both live, I consider Alan a downtowner. Okay, so we've received the benefit of downtown flourishing. But I could take you to some other neighborhoods that I've gone over on the west side. Looks horrible. Horrible. And for 12 years, we've had somebody talking about how well look what I've done for the city of Detroit. You've done nothing for the neighborhood, sir. Nothing. And nobody wants to call him out. Guess what? Because he's important. It's important to have this person in my side, in my pocket, because I want those same people who supported him to support me. But that's not accountability, is the point that I'm making. And when you're a politician, guess what? You're going to take the rocks as well as.
And I think you. Go ahead, Alan.
Look, I'm not gonna dispute there are a lot of neighborhoods, very distressed neighborhoods that abandoned houses, blight, all that kind of stuff. But just for those who may not live in the city, who may not travel around the city and stuff like that, there are still a lot of really good neighborhoods as well. I mean, just on the east side, you've got East Village, you've got West Village, you've got Indian Village. You've got the Canal District right along Alta Road. You've got a lot of nice neighborhoods there. You got on the west side. You've got some. what you call it, Grand River and Southfield. What's it called? The neighborhood there.
You talking about Rosedale Park, North
Rosedale.
Rosedale Park, Grandma. I could name all
Yeah,
the
Grandma. I
and
mean,
other neighborhoods.
yeah. And there are some
Sherwood,
really, Sherwood Forest, Arden Park, Boston Edison. There are a lot of good neighborhoods, and what we need to do is expand those. Where those, I mean, the ideal thing is that it metastasizes, where people move into those neighborhoods and some can't start to afford those homes, so they edge out a little bit more and more. We see at the North End what that's happening from downtown and midtown. People can't afford downtown and midtown; they're moving to the North End. So there is hope. I'm not saying that we turn our head the other way or bury our head in the sand and say other neighborhoods don't need to be improved, but there is something to build on. Like I say, for people who don't live in Detroit, there are some really good things outside of downtown and midtown.
So, Alan, I don't disagree that there are some good things. What I'm trying to convey to you and other people, that the people who are upset, some of those people who showed up to that debate a few weeks ago, those are the people who says, I didn't see anything different in my neighborhood.
Yeah, I understand.
And for 12 years, we haven't seen anything. And guess what? Remember, Detroit had a clean slate. Let's not forget this. We had a clean slate. So it was like monopoly money being spent.
Mm-hmm.
But it's clear to me.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay, yes, let's talk about it. Go ahead, Jim.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But when somebody from Sterling Heights or Trenton, where I live, or Grosse-Ile or Southfield go to Detroit, they're going to a Tiger game or the Fox Theater, or they're going to see a concert, and there are police, there are firefighters, and they don't go on to eat. They don't have a challenge that somebody that lives out in the neighborhood might have. They're policing for the suburbs. They're not policing for the city. That's a bad deal. The resources are being expended for the casino, for the Lions, for the Tigers.
But all those things also bring in revenue for the city, the casinos, the sporting events, the concerts and stuff like that. I mean, that's the balance of a city. We can't, I remember on 9:10 a.m. we had somebody say, I'm tired of the Taylor Swift people coming into our city. It's like, they're bringing money into the city. The city, there's an idea that
that's revenue, not my point, Alan. Not my point. My point is that other areas are sometimes ignored when you're spending resources on people that maybe are just coming in for 2 hours, right? You're putting police officers and firefighters, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge out at 6 o'clock.
Right. There needs to be enough for both.
Exactly.
I mean, look, people come to the city. I remember back in 2015, one night I went to Corktown for dinner with some friends, including the friends that I was with. They had their car stolen. There were 3 other people who had their car stolen going to, restaurants there. And so what are the odds of those people coming back the following week? And, I mean, you want to create an environment where cars are there after they eat, where they, people don't get, held up or whatever. I mean, the city should be, it's for, there's so many components to the city, and to you can't ignore one at the cost of the other. We need to have firefighters. We need to have police in the neighborhoods at the same time while we're having a big Tiger game, while we're having a concert at the LCA. That's what running a city is all about, is doing a balance so that you have a vibrant city that,
So to your point, Alan, you need to have a balance. And I'm saying there hasn't been a balance.
Yeah, okay.
In 12 years, there has not been a balance. You got people in the comments, somebody just said, what's happened on Finkel? And I indicated, I drive all around. I do. I like to go sightsee, but work also requires me to drive all around. Listen, the people are really, they are tired. But if you're tired, you got to do something different. You got to be bold. And I'm not telling anybody who they should vote for, because right now we have 10 candidates. And I'm still thinking about who am I going to support? I think we're very fortunate to have people that are really qualified to run. But guess what? They're inheriting a whole lot. And so when we go to that booth, I think we need to decide, who do we think can handle it? Who do we think can handle the fact that people are pissed off that their neighborhoods have been overlooked while downtown has been dressed up? And the person who, and listen, I'm going to call a spade a spade. I think Mayor Duggan did some wonderful things for the city of Detroit. But I also think there's a lot of BS that did not happen. There was a lot of stuff that did not happen that should have happened. And I think it's quite interesting that now you're leaving after 12 years. Because as Adolph and I said over a year ago, the bill is due. We've had a couple of candidates to come on the show and say the bill is due. So how are we going to pay for the neighborhoods if we want to have neighborhoods with corridors and, grocery stores and that kind of thing? Where's that money coming from? And the person that we decide that we're going to elect, is that person going to be big and bold enough to say, hey, we need to spread the love around? Not only do we need to do it, that we're going to do it. Because I can say this about Mayor Duggan. When he said he was going to get something done, he got it done. He got it done. He didn't say, I plan on doing it. We doing it, whether it was legal or not. Do we have any of those candidates that's bold enough to do that?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. But, when people talk about, us, pouring in resources for the Tiger games and the LCA concerts and stuff like that, it's like, guess what? We've seen in other cities, and it's happened. It could happen here. We could say, you know what? We don't want to do that anymore. Let people go out to the Palace. Let them go out to the Silverdome. I mean, we've worked so hard to get those things back into the city, and people complain that we're putting too many resources in. Well,
not my point.
No, I'm not addressing you. I'm just saying there are people who say, why do we need all that stuff? It's like, you want to have a big city or not? You want to have a small city? You want to have all the problems of a big city with fewer amenities? I mean, the art museum, there are some gems in the city that, are a big city should have. We want to be proud. We talk about Detroit all the time, how proud we are of Detroit. Well, we're proud of it partly because there are some amenities worth coming to Detroit for. There are look, for a long time, there were suburbanites. They talk about how much they love Detroit. They come for the Tiger game. They go to the Fisher Theater. They go to the London Chop House, and that's their Detroit in a very limited way. But, Detroit's a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
So I'm going to go to some of the comments of the viewers. We have Marcy Taylor, who says, Finkel, Linwood, Dexter, 6 Mile, Brightmoor. Listen, I'm going to add on to that. What about the Boulevard? When you get past the Henry Ford Hospital, and when you get past the Motown Museum, it looks horrible over there. Period. The end. Okay. And that's Midtown. I mean, I could give many examples, but we also have Dorian Denar, who says, I don't want a candidate that's not going to address the truth about the city. Mr. Duckett said, I met a smart guy named George Adams that's running for District 5. He's pretty sharp. Somebody says that Mayor Duggan jacked up the DMC. Marlon Holt, Marlon Holt? He says James Craig. Eric Brown says,
thanks,
no.
Marlon's been hiding from us.
Oh, yeah, he has been. Hey, Marlon. He says James Craig. He said, Eric Brown says, and by the way, Marlon, I was on the east side today off of Mac and Cashew area. Mac, Cashew. Anyway, James Craig has signs going all the way down there. So he's hitting the neighborhoods. Eric Brown says no balance, and there are 2 Detroits, and people from outside the city coming into the city get treated better than the city residents. Wow. Like my music said, if you still think that working will set you free, if you still think that work will set you free. Day said, Big Jim looks like you're in the perfect location.
Down at Ramsey's in Trenton. Our old friend.
Everybody should be proud, not just downtown. Good point, Marcy Taylor. Deborah Harris says, now's the time to fix up the neighborhood. One of the other streets, I was on Van Dyke today too. Actually, there's a little place called Two Birds off of Van Dyke that somebody told me about. Sam says, new stadium for soccer going up on Southwest side for the soccer team, FC Detroit from Hamtramck. So those are our comments.
I have a little news. I don't know if you guys followed yesterday. The U.S. Attorney's Office charged a Chinese scholar who's at the University of Michigan with her and her boyfriend who had come in from China with sneaking like a fungus that is like a biological agent. She was researching that. He's brought in other foreign agents of these pathogens, as they're called. Biological, and they can ruin crops. They can cause organ diseases in animals and livestock, and they were arrested. And I think it's important work that the government's doing to monitor that stuff, because if it gets loose or whatever. But I think the other thing I want to remind people of is that when we see stuff and we see Chinese, and then we see some backlash to some of the Asian people living in the city, and we saw it during the COVID, where people lashed out at some Asian people because they were mad that they thought the COVID was coming from China. And so I think we have to be careful, while at the same time vigilant. The government needs to be vigilant about it. Look, China has been stealing our intelligence, like corporate intelligence and stuff like that, for forever. It's a huge problem. They steal information from the automotive companies. They steal technology. They get away with it. In fact, and they're worried about it as well. When they built it, when I was in DC, where they were building an embassy in DC, they were building a new embassy. They only used Chinese workers because they were afraid the U.S. was going to be planting, listening devices and all that kind of stuff in there. So, anyways, we're
going to go to a commercial, and then we're going to come back.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
We're back, Detroit in black and white, and we have some more comments. Eric Brown says, no, he didn't. He said he's talking about Mayor Duggan. He promised to reduce crime, didn't happen. He promised to improve the education, didn't happen. He promised to improve the population, didn't happen. Mr. Duckett says they're going to carry the same water, but won't have the submissive mainstream media Duggan has had. Wow, interesting. Dorian Denard, which is something interesting. I want to ask you about this, Alan and Jim. Dorian Denard says he's thinking about running for one of the vacant police commissioner seats as a write-in candidate. What do you guys think about the fact that I think it's 3 seats, and nobody put their name in to run for those seats? What do you guys think about that?
Which seats?
Detroit Police Commission.
Oh, the Police Commission.
Asking people to be write-in candidates.
Yeah, I think that's sad. I mean, it's such a critical issue, and we have so many people in the city. We have a lot of lawyers living in the city who you would think would want to, particularly have some say, and a lot of citizens, active citizens who. So it is kind of amazing that crime, police, the way police handle cases and stuff like that, and people don't want to step up to be part of it, So
You think you want to be a
I
part
think
of?
Dorian has courage, and I like that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vanessa.
do you know what? If
I
I
think-
wasn't if I wasn't doing journalism, I mean, it would be a conflict of interest for me to be on it. But I think it'd be fascinating to be on and have some oversight over police department. You know, and it's shocking that
It's
nobody.
really
they
an
have to-
advisor.
huh? It's shocking that they have to beg people to do write-ins.
You don't want to be in the police commission?
Well,
I would, but it would be a
Alan? Write your
conflict.
name in?
It would be a conflict of interest for me if I'm still doing Deadline Detroit. I
I'll
don't
give
want to.
Dorian credit. Go out there and get that, Dorian. Make your
Right.
city better. That's an opportunity to make your city better.
Queen B says she doesn't have time. Stephanie Jackson, one of our viewers, says she wants a candidate that can explain where's the bidding for the CJC. I think she's talking about the Criminal Justice Center store and why a local business hasn't had the opportunity to, I guess, to bid for the store. So, you know what? I think that would be a question not for a candidate for mayor, although they should be able to answer that question. But I think that will be a question that you would have to ask the Wayne County executive, because he's over, the Wayne County is over an executive that would be Warren Evans. His people, they're the ones that's over the Criminal Justice Center and such. So I think that will fall under his auspices. However, I do think that it's important that the mayor work with, you have to work with the Wayne County executive. You're going to have to work with the governor. You're going to have to work with other mayors that surround the city. So you're going to have good working relationships. So that's a good question.
I got a question for all you. James Craig is kind of selling himself as that he has connections with Trump. Is that a plus, or in the city of Detroit, will people see that as saying, oh, he'll get us money, he'll get us whatever? Do you see that as a positive?
You asked.
Yeah, or is it a positive, or is it?
I'm going to start. Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to go back to Stephanie for just a second. She made a comment about the inactive police licensing, which is catastrophic in my opinion. And thank you for your comment. Is it good or is it bad, James Craig? If I'd shut my mouth if I was James Craig talking about Donald Trump.
So
I would. I
mean,
would, because he.
Trump got,
do you want to carry the baggage? 19,658 votes in Detroit.
So here's the thing, though. You're going to have a relationship with the people in DC if you want to get money, federal dollars coming into your city. So should he shy away from it, or should he say who he is? Should you respect somebody who said, listen, yes, I have a relationship with the person that you guys hate. I want to represent the city of Detroit. I have a relationship that's going to benefit the city of Detroiters. I'm a candidate that is very popular with the city of Detroit voters because I was the chief of police for, I don't know how long, was it 10 years? 10 years. And so does he shy away from it? Or does he say, as they say in the street, does he stand on business and say, this is who I am? Because see, I can appreciate somebody who's showing me who they are, telling me who they are, and consistent with who they are. I can appreciate that. As opposed to somebody tell me one thing and you do.
Well, that's what he said.
Okay.
Well,
So
he said he has a relationship with Donald Trump, and this isn't a knock on Donald Trump, but Elon Musk had a relationship with Donald Trump yesterday, not today.
did they fall off today for real?
yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
pissed.
I'm asking seriously. I don't know.
It's real. He's pissed that deconstructed government and lowered the services to people, and then he sees, he's got everyone mad at him. They're burning down his car dealerships and burning his cars, and then he sees that
it's not them batteries.
could be, but here it is. He's got, the projection is for this budget that'll add trillions to the deficit, and it's like our services are worse, our research is less. Everything in government is less services, less research, less everything. And we're going to add to the deficit. He's going to have a $45 million parade whatever. It's just basically rejiggering things to what he likes,
So
not saving
here's
money.
the thing, though. I'm going to ask you guys this question. Is it cool? Is it okay if you have that position, you the president, you the governor, you the mayor, you the chief of police, or whatever the case may be? Is it a problem that you get pissed off because somebody does not agree with you so much so that you start punishing them? Is that okay to have leaders like that?
He's a vindicta. You're
No,
talking
but,
about.
I think
Go ahead, Jim.
But I think Stephanie made the point. We can all disagree, but I don't believe that Trump's coattails helps James Craig in Detroit. That's not a reflection of either of the men. I think I'll let Marlon speak because Marlon said it. Detroiters hate Trump for the most part.
Right. Well, let me say this. You say that he may not. All I'm saying is I saw signs. That's all I can tell you. Now, I know signs don't vote.
Let's say that
when you start seeing signs in front of people's homes, that speaks volumes. That tells you. And when I said I saw signs, I wasn't talking about signs sitting in front of a gas station or anything like that. These were in front of houses. And to me, that speaks volumes that
what signs?
This household says whoever's in that house, I'm supporting this individual. So Monday night, I saw Pastor Kinlock's signs. Today, I saw James Craig signs. One day last week, I saw a lot of Perkins signs. I cannot say that I've seen, and I saw John Barlow signs on the west side. I even saw one on near the lodge. I saw his sign. Mm-hmm. I can't say that I've seen anybody else's, not to say that they don't have their signs out. I'm just saying in these pockets that I've been in the last 7 days, I've seen people supporting these individuals that we're talking about. And I think I said last week that I saw Councilwoman Sheffield signs. Definitely saw those, and she has a lot of them out.
And a billboard. I saw a billboard on Woodward.
Like 5 million billboards.
Sheffield, which if you're going to do billboards, you got to do them in numbers. You can't just have one.
She's definitely doing it in numbers.
Yeah, she's got the money. I don't know. She's got a big treasure. I don't know how much she's spent so far, and maybe she's saving some for the general election. But she's got the most money, and I think the business community still has been kind of lukewarm toward her. They've given her some money, but they're not all in with her. They've been talking to James Craig to see. Mm-hmm. So who knows?
You know what else is going to be interesting, guys? At the end of the day, when we find out who the last two standing on August the 5th, those other 8 people, it's going to be interesting what camps they're going to run to or who they're going to support. Because there are people going to say, well, where should we align ourselves?
Right.
They trust. So that's going to be really interesting. And those are the kind of things that I think as voters that you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention who they align with while they're running for office to get to the primary. And you need to pay attention to what happens after that. And that is how we
need a jobs candidate.
You make a decision, okay?
We need a jobs candidate. You don't like my music said, if you have a job, you're not on Medicaid. We need a jobs candidate.
Right.
He's absolutely right. Before we're done, if I have like 2 minutes at the end, I have to tell Adolph Mongo. I'm sorry?
I just want to say about Medicaid. People can be low income and still have Medicaid. It doesn't matter. You could have two. You could have two jobs. Yeah, but you could have two jobs.
Because I understand that we're like brothers. You don't like my music, and I are like brothers. So I think I know where he's coming from.
Yeah. And people always think Medicaid. They go, it's for people of low income. If it's all 80% of Medicaid is white people.
He's just talking about the poverty and jobs.
No, I know. I realize that, but Medicaid is there's more to it than people think.
You know what? Let me talk about Medicaid. Let me talk about the EBT card and that kind of thing. I think when welfare was designed, it was designed to help people to be a bridge, and I think that some people are really upset that people have made it a way of life. And when those people who have made it a way of life generation after generation, those are the people that make it real hard for people who are just using it as a stopgap. I'm going to use my story, for example. My father had a massive heart attack at 20, I think it was 28. He didn't pass away from that, but he had surgery. But my father was a comedian, as you guys know this, right? So he couldn't work. He was the breadwinner. So I remember my mom had to go and get I called state assistance, right? And I remember those food stamp it looked like money was in it.
Right.
And I remember feeling so shameful going to the store. I waited for everybody to leave out the store before I paid for whatever it was that they sent me to the store for. But the bottom line is this: once he got himself together, he was off of it.
Right.
And so I think that a lot of criticism comes from those people who continue. It wasn't meant to be generation after generation after generation after generation of people, relying on it. And I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just saying that that's what it is. Go ahead, Jim.
I just wanted to circle back and talk about Adolf just for one more minute, if you guys don't mind. He's not here, so I'm going to talk about him. He's the victim. So I have this little story, probably about, I don't know, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was. And he and I were on a project, and we were kind of going our separate ways. So we went down to our famous McShane's and had a couple, I think they were, I don't recall, maybe tequilas. And I'm not much of a drinker. But Adolf told me this long story that seemed like fiction. All right. So I'm going back to this Deadline Detroit article. He talked about Jackie Wilson. Everybody remembers Mr. Excitement, who got sick and died. Yep. Jackie Wilson, higher and higher, right?
Yeah.
He told me this crazy story about how Jackie Wilson's son was found by Bruno Mars' dad in Hawaii and brought to the United States, and then the Four Tops were involved. It's the most convoluted story I ever heard. It's such a work of fiction that you wouldn't believe it. Look it up, Jackie Wilson's son. I went home and looked it up. He doesn't know I looked it up, but he told me this story. We might have had a couple tequilas, and I went, that's the biggest crock of garbage I ever heard. And I went home, and every word of it was accurate.
Wow.
So Adolf is accurate. It's a crazy story, right? This kid was in Hawaii, and he was found by Bruno Mars' dad, who was promoting Bruno Mars, who was an Elvis impersonator at the time. This young man was a Jackie Wilson impersonator. Turned out it was Jackie Wilson's son. I was like, this is the craziest story I ever heard. Every word of it was true. That's Adolf Mongo. I'll leave it at that.
So before we go, I want to give a shout out to Deborah G. She said, and I'm going to read her comment. She said, how do fools who don't live here have so damn much to say about Detroiters and what we do? So clearly she's offended by that. Also, Deborah Harris said that Medicaid is for the handicapped and low income and long time care. Queen B says, Vanessa, people have learned how to pass down Section 8 vouchers. Yeah, I know, Queen B. Yeah, people can be very creative. And Karen Winston, hey, Karen, she said, wow. So it is now.
Look it up, it's true.
Right. It's now 9:29. So, Jim, you have your last word, and then Alan.
I think I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Alan.
I was going to mention that.
No, I just want to tell my Adolf Mongo story.
Okay.
I'm going to mention that the Judicial Tenure Commission, for the second time in maybe 2 weeks, has filed a case against Honorable Christian Nielsen Hartig in Troy, who's been accused of basically being abusive and rude to staff and all that. And you must see that in court, where some judges are kind of lost their way and become very empirical and all that. But it's a shame when you read these cases where these judges are just rude to people, to staff, and try to humiliate them publicly. It's it's good the Judicial Tenure Commission's there to at least sort of step in.
Well, you know what? I want to make a comment on that. I just think people who have power in general can act out, and a lot of them do act out. You don't have to be a judge. You could be the CEO of a company like Mr. Sean Combs, who finds himself on trial. You could be the mayor of the city of Detroit. I'm just playing. But at any rate, I want to say thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Alan. Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you, all of Detroit and Black and White viewers. We love you guys making comments. We love the fact that you listen to us. And I want to add that all of the opinions that are stated belongs to each individual. I'm not speaking for Alan. Alan is not speaking for Jim. Jim is not speaking for Vanessa. But we also want you to know that we love you all and we love each other. We'll be back on Friday and Saturday. Don't look for me because I won't be here Friday. I'll miss you guys. But you guys have a good time on Friday night from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. and Saturday morning from 10 to 11. Take care.